So it's beautiful today, Akashic family. We got a awesome guest on the show for today. I'm so excited to have her here. I'm excited to be able to call her a friend. We met a couple of years ago during ayahuasca ceremony down in Costa Rica. And it's quite fitting because I know in previous videos I talked about going through trauma and trauma experiences. And I couldn't have a better person on here to be able to continue to share insights about trauma and share her story, how she's healed herself and continues to create trauma-informed communities where people are healing. She is the CEO and founder of the Heart Center in Los Angeles, California. In addition to being certified in a yoga instructor, energy healer, I keep it going, breath work. She does it all, paints, just a true creative being that is a beneficial presence for everyone that's here and that she comes in contact with. So super excited to have Miss Okha Butler on the show. Okha, what's happening with you?
Hi, wow, thank you. I'm so grateful to be here in community with you.
Yes, yes,
And
yes,
thank you for
yes.
that powerful, beautiful meditation prayer. There's just so much power in your words. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I appreciate being able to, we just create a space where we can open up and we can share. And I think the experiences that we go through in life are for us to heal, but also to help others heal as well. So having a space where we can open up and share is important. And I thank you for your presence. And as we say, your sacred yes for always showing up. You're so dope.
Mm.
So dope. When we talked about doing the show together and just having this conversation, one of the things that came to mind is, your story, your background. I think we met at a time where, we're going through the healing journey, in ayahuasca ceremonies, and you were very intimate in sharing your background and your story. I was absolutely blown away by, your resilience, blown away by your heart and the passion in which you pursue the projects of helping create these trauma-informed communities. I know this story, I've heard it before, but for the benefit of the listeners, would you mind just taking us through your journey and I guess what led you to the ayahuasca plant medicine and also to the work that you're doing now?
Yes, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. What an experience. Whew. I invite everyone listening to take lots of deep breaths as I
Mhm.
share my story. And I invite that for myself as well. I'm going to start when I was 9 months old. So, when I was 9 months old, my mother was brutally murdered. She walked into the garage and she was stabbed 27 times. And she was put into the trunk of a car with her eyes and her hands and her legs duct taped. And 22 years later, the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, the largest sheriff's department in the nation, arrested my father with no substantial evidence at all. In fact, they actually did a ton of sting operations that included me calling folks and ending up filing a police report against the sheriff's department because I didn't know that person was a cop. They came to intimidate me. And so through this journey of being in connection with this dark system, um, I moved to Los Angeles and I attended about 188 court hearings, and I was forced to be silenced. And so my throat chakra, I wasn't able to express my frustration. And at that time, I didn't have the tools to express my frustration and to feel. I was just moving so fast and trying to do everything I could. And I was in victim mindset a lot. It's like, this is happening to me. Oh, this is happening to me. Oh, this is happening to me. And then through this journey, yoga saved my life. I just walked into a yoga class and then I would do this meditation every day. And these different practices started saving my life. So then I wanted training in yoga, in energy healing, in breath work, in crystal healing, in sound, and kept knocking on the doors in yoni embodiment, right? In even like the messages that I was receiving, clairvoyance and audience, and so medium and psychic training to gain these tools to support what was happening to me through this transformation. And then becoming aware of like what's happened to my father and what's happened to my mother. It's much bigger than me. You know, through this journey, my dad has been locked up for about 10 years now, and it's been difficult. There's frustration and sadness, though through this journey, he isn't the only one. You know, and this system we know comes from slavery. It's modern day slavery, and we know that folks are doing the work. And so I started tapping into these beautiful different communities like Initiate Justice and Essie Justice Group and Dignity and Power Now. And then I was searching. I was like, there has to be an organization that focuses on healing for people that are impacted by incarceration. Either you're impacted through a loved one or directly. And so I found that there wasn't. And so then I felt called to create, through meditation and guidance and support and a team, to create the Heart Center. And so the Heart Center was born in 2022. Officially, the seeds have been planted though, and I never really knew the how until it just kind of happened. And so in August of 2022, one thing was clear. I had to quit my job in education. And so I was very clear with them that in August, I must quit. The last week of me being there, there was Miss Smith. She ran the after school program, and she was like, I can't believe you're leaving, Okha. We need something here, the kids. And so then I was like, I can bring yoga there. So it started with yoga for youth. And because of the kids and me bringing my instruments in, they'd be like, can we just listen to the crystal bowls and relax? Because we had a long day. And so we invited sound healing in and yoga and created a program called Mindfulness Wellness for youth and Mindfulness Wellness for adults. And mindfulness wellnesses for businesses. And this was just being created because I go to the bank, make relationship, and they were like, we need something. And I was like, well, we have a mindfulness wellness program. We can extend it out for businesses. And then mindfulness wellness for colleges. And so with the funding we receive from our mindfulness wellness programs, we pay the healers well, and we use the remaining funding to provide individuals that are impacted by incarceration access to various healing modalities, events, and holistic retreats. And I'm talking about luxurious retreats that folks deserve, and the money is there. There's so much abundance. Even in that plant behind you, there's just the leaves are coming out. It exists in our breath as we breathe, and as the words as we speak. It's in all of the cells in our body. It's the essence of who we are. And so with this mindset of abundance and love, this unlimited source of love flowing in and through these ideas as we create with ease and grace and clarity and love and connection and community, we get to create these systems grounded with intention and grounded with love and community, instead of these systems that have been here that don't work, that are created from fear. And they gotta go, and they know, and it's shaking because there's so many people doing the work.
That's right. That's right. That's right. My Lord. My Lord. I mean, you hit on so many different points. First and foremost, thank you for the work that you're doing, right? Because it seems in your story, going from a situation from saying, hey, I was a victim, to doing the healing and work. And it went from me to we, because you were able to transmute that energy of saying, what, I'm not a victim of anything. You regaining your power and taking that energy and saying, what, I found a way to heal. And so how do I diffuse that amongst people who have maybe been underserved, or have been preyed upon by a system that is designed to warehouse bodies more than any other system in the entire world. And so for you doing the work for those who are here and those who are yet to come, we give thanks to you for your yes. Let's go back a little bit, because you talked about how your childhood experiences of your mother being murdered, excuse me. How does that in terms of the work that you're doing with your father, it seems like you have the passion, and you're going through the process of helping other people, but yet you're still knocking on the doors and helping, trying to liberate your father. How does that work out? I mean, on the day to day, what's the update on your father, and how is he doing? And what are the conditions like?
Yeah. So my father right now,
Mhm.
He spent some time at Men's Central Jail in Los
Mhm.
Angeles, which, is a very old, ancient place that is going to be knocked down and needs to be knocked down today. And so he has experienced his own trauma.
Mhm.
And before he got locked up, I'll share, he had implants in his teeth.
Okay.
And so, the health services that are happening in there aren't happening.
Mm.
And so he actually had to pull his implants out because they couldn't be maintained, and he mailed them to me.
Mhm.
And I'm not talking about 1 or 2 or 3, but over 5 implants. And so health wise, I'm just sending him lots of love.
Correct.
And he is naturally, he's very calm
Mhm.
and collective, but I could, being in connection with him, there's trauma. And so
Mhm.
it's survival of the fittest in a way as well, where his body is actually always in trauma.
Mm.
And everybody inside, they're experiencing this deep trauma
Mhm.
where it's like they can't leave a place.
Mhm.
And so he's doing okay.
Mhm.
Though the light of hope is there
Okay.
for him, and I know it
Mhm.
because it's so bright in me. I can feel it in him. And
Mhm.
so because there's this energy and vibration of hope, I know
Correct.
he's going to get out. Like, I
Okay.
know I'm going to make him an Indian meal, and he's going to sit down here and eat it.
I
Like,
love
I
it.
can see it. And
Mhm.
so it's where, it's the suffering, right? And I love that
Mhm.
Kim Stanwood Terranova says it's pulling the pearls out of the suffering. So it's
Mm.
continuing to do that.
Mm.
And then as far as my mom, she's been tapping in to like really connect with me and
Yeah.
my spirit. And so my consciousness is now ready and open to
Mhm.
connect with my mother's consciousness.
Mm.
And I'll take it back to our trip in Rhythmia.
Yeah. Yeah.
During my ayahuasca ceremony, things were happening. And I'm so grateful you were there and all the beautiful beings were there, including Martin Luther King Jr., and it's just so powerful. And for me, I remember, setting an intention, taking the medicine, and laying down.
Yeah.
And I opened my eyes. I was like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And then my head just went back and my eyes closed and a seatbelt went over me and it was
Yeah.
like, let's go. And I went into a roller coaster. And then
Mhm.
I found myself in the trunk of a car, which
Mm.
was my biggest fear of
Yeah.
somebody killing me in the way they killed my mother.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then I was able to cry her tears, and it was like blood I was crying through the journey. It was
Mm.
deep work. It was It was painful, but then it was blissful because what I saw was my 9-year-old self.
Mm-hmm.
And that day my mom was supposed to take me.
Mm-hmm.
She looked at me and she was like, "Oh, Okha is so cute." And we had a nanny named Teresa.
Mm-hmm.
And so Teresa handed me over to my mom. And my mom was ready to take me, and I threw up on myself. And so then she gave me back to Teresa, and Teresa changed my clothes and gave me back to my mom. And my
Mm-hmm.
mom, I threw up on myself again. And so my mom gave me back to Teresa, and Teresa cleaned me, changed my clothes. And then I was ready to go. And I threw up on myself a third time.
Oh wow.
And then I walked into the garage, and then my mom walked into the garage, right? Not me. I am not her. We are not our parents.
Mm.
And that's when she transitioned in that life.
Yeah.
Through the ayahuasca journey, I saw these angels hovering over the baby.
Mm.
It was so surreal. It was wild. It was,
Wow.
whew. And they were there. They were orchestrating this like I needed to be alive. I was not
Mm-hmm.
meant to go with her that day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
I gotta take a breath. That's powerful. That's powerful. You said something where, it was suffering, it was painful, but then it was blissful at the same time. And, a lot of times, even for me in that ceremony, in that setting, you go to the deepest, innermost sanctums of pain that you've housed in your body. Not even just pain, but suffering, where it's gone suppressed because we didn't want to deal with it, or repressed because it was too hard to deal with it. I mean, we couldn't deal with it at that time. And, I very similar to you, I remember just laying on the bed and I was like, I have to want this more than I want breathing. Then I want to breathe to be able to revisit some of these experiences. But, to your point, it got dark, but then there was such a level of bliss and being able to realize that these things happen, but they never tainted who we are. The ineffable, the intangible aspect of the eternal aspect of us, right? And I developing to your point, a different level of understanding about the circumstance, about what happened, where there's liberation to an extent about it, right? Where you get that release, where you can see, to your point, there were angels that were around you, circling around you, protecting you and guiding you, that parts of that situation were not intended for you. I think that is the beauty of it, but the importance is to be able to go through the experience and to have that sense of healing, give yourself that healing, which is so crucial. And as you alluded to earlier, not everybody is afforded that opportunity, right? I mean, in many respects, they say it was 30 years worth of therapy in 7 days. 30 years worth of therapy in 7 days. There's folks that have been in therapy forever. And, it's definitely not a judgment at all, because it's a beautiful place to be able to sit and, and have people help you, guide you through, because that's a gift in and of itself. At the same time, we don't have to go an entire lifetime. The universe has gifts here, natural medicines here that, for it may not be for everybody, right? But for those who are interested in it, there are things that can help facilitate that healing process. And it shouldn't be something where there's a barrier because of cost, right? Because in many respects, these retreats, they can be pricey for some folks, right? But the healing is here, right? It's for here for everybody. So I love what you're doing and making it affordable, making it so that people can have access to it. Because not only is there power in the healing, there's power in healing in the community. Like, that has to be spoken about, right? Where we're all there under one accord in Congress with one another to with the high intention of healing. Not only it's just creating healing in that space, but I think it goes, ramifications are much larger, right? I think they reverberate out into a much larger stratosphere, where it's lifting the vibration of the entire planet. It's a high level of intentionality that's involved in that. So it's a beautiful space, and what you're doing is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. You talked about the childhood experiences. I know in some of the work you do, it's very popular to talk about trauma circles. Can you speak to how that what that looks like in the prison setting and just some of your experience with it?
Yeah, trauma circles and just having an awareness of the trauma and then an understanding of how the body and the nervous system is connected to the trauma
Mm,
and
mm,
connected to the flight, fight, freeze, or fawn
mm-hmm.
system of the sympathetic nervous system
Okay.
or the parasympathetic nervous system of rest and digest. And so there's these two pieces, right? This awareness and then the body and the nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
And so the awareness going all the way back into our childhood. So
Mm-hmm.
many folks have heard of ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. And
Yes.
so there's 10 questions. And if folks are connected with one of the ACEs, they step forward or raise their hand.
Okay.
And so I actually had the opportunity to volunteer with an organization who did this, where you step forward or raise your hand.
Mm-hmm.
And so folks inside of the prison system are receiving, lots of different programmings from
Mm-hmm.
lots of different organizations.
Mm-hmm.
The Heart Center is not connected at the moment
Mm-hmm.
going inside of prisons and providing that. It's more so when folks come out.
Out. Okay.
Right
Okay.
now, we're working on the first 30 days,
Mm.
a first 30-day journal that I'm just envisioning to give my dad, like, and connecting with folks who are also directly impacted by incarceration on this
Correct.
project, because knowing I'm actually a person that's impacted through a loved one in a
Mm-hmm.
very deep, different way,
Come on now.
where a part of me felt like it was inside in the beginning for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, it's like, the system, it creates trauma in a person's life, and then it creates trauma in the community and the family's life. And then it expands and it creates trauma in the world. And
Mm-hmm.
so, what do we have in the state of California? The most folks incarcerated. What do we have in the United States? 25% of the world's population is incarcerated here.
That's
And so,
25%. That's crazy.
and we're only 5% of the world's population. And so, we know that these cages are bringing money in. And so it's corruption. And we also know that right now, corruption and conflict is at the highlight. Like, if
Yeah.
we look at the stars and what the information they're giving us, that is what's being focused.
Mm-hmm.
Even like these racist comments that council members have said in Los Angeles,
Yeah.
it's being recorded and blasted on social media, and so it's coming to the surface. And the
Mm-hmm.
systems that are grounded in fear and people that are moving with fear in mind and with these low vibrations, it's all coming to surface.
It's the great reveal. It's the great reveal. Everything is bubbling up. It's bubbling up. It's necessary. It's necessary. I guess that so, but that's why we feel so much friction and all when the old is passing away and the new is being revealed. I mean, there's that in between point, right, where people are trying to hold on to the way things used to be or the way they were, and no longer the status quo is going to serve. It's time to evolve. Time to
Mhm.
evolve. I love how you talked about the journal, just tools that people can have. I feel like it's so important for folks to have a practice because we're always practicing something, right? Whether it's, negativity or fear or doubt or worry, or we choose to be intentional about what we're practicing through, meditation or to your point, yoga. Can you give some insight in terms of what other tools that you recommend for people who have been impacted, just whether it's, from people coming out of prison or just in day-to-day life?
Yes, slowing down
Mm-hmm.
the mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so meditating in whatever way that looks, maybe it's more masculine and it's sitting up,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe it's laying down or going on a walk. a moving meditation. And that's what really yoga is. It's moving the body
Mm-hmm.
with awareness. And it's doing this all throughout the day.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, not just an hour a day, make it consistent. It is a practice.
Mm-hmm.
And then taking care of ourselves in these different ways, like going to get a massage or, and that's what we're bringing in. We're going to send with our first programming funding, we're
Mm-hmm.
going to send over 15 people to experience a Korean spa
Okay.
experience and make sure we pay for their lift ride
Mm-hmm.
there to
Mm-hmm.
make sure those barriers aren't there, and to also give them an option. Maybe they don't want to go to a Korean spa. Maybe they would actually rather work with healers that are also impacted by the system.
Mm-hmm.
And so they'll have that. We're also hiring both parties as well. And so these systems are just being created right now for the Heart Center, which is a really beautiful time because it's expanding. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's what we're doing in life. We just keep expanding. And so it's touching back with our heart. What makes our heart happy? For my partner, it's playing basketball.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's going to a heated yoga class and sweating in that way. And so we all have these different pieces of us that make our heart happy. Keep finding it, make the list bigger. Maybe right now in your life it won't be cooking, but maybe it will be soon. So just
Mm-hmm.
being open and willing to find the happiness in all of the moments, whether we're doing the dishes or sweeping or having a conversation with loved ones or even creating boundaries with people that don't make our heart happy
Mm-hmm.
or make us feel unsafe. So creating that healthy boundary
Mm-hmm.
before the anger appears, right? And
Yes.
when the anger appears, releasing it, screaming into a pillow, going
Mm-hmm.
outside and screaming. Primal screaming is so powerful, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so these different practices, and that's what it is. It's a practice. And when we're not practicing, being compassionate to ourselves, even in those moments, and
Come
just
on now.
becoming aware, going back to the practicing, journaling, we have 70 to 80,000 thoughts a day. And it's like, whoa, there's so much going on in the mind. And putting it down on paper will provide a lot of clarity for us.
Mm-hmm. No, it's beautiful. It gives you the space to kind of actually sometimes even look at it, just observe it, observe what's floating through your mind, right? Whether it's sitting in meditation and just watching the thoughts or writing it down on a piece of paper, there's power in just the transmission of it alone. That's
Mm.
beautiful. That's beautiful. You talked about the tools. Another thing is another tool would be the language, right? To give yourself the space to sit and observe what you're going through or what's passing through your awareness. But another thing, to have the language to articulate exactly how you're feeling. I could tell you, growing up, I didn't have the language to express, if I was going through something, if I knew anger, right? I knew anger. I knew what I thought was love, an iteration of love. And I I kind of knew fear, right? And for me, fear was always, yeah, fight or flight, right? But how it manifests in other behaviors. Can you talk about language, right? And how do we help equip people with the language to just even express, what they're going through or what they're experiencing, from whether it's a traumatic experience or just something on the day to day where you finding you're happy, right? Where hey, you just discovered that you like sitting out in nature, right? Just the importance of being able to, open up your throat chakra, or your voice, finding your voice and allowing that to be the overflow of you tapping into your heart and sharing that out with the world. Can you talk about that? How you experiencing that?
Absolutely. So for me, it started with listening to my heartbeat every day.
Mm,
And I'm just thinking back about, 5 or 7 years ago when my throat was very closed
mm-hmm.
and um, it was difficult. I was isolated for years because I didn't tell anyone that my dad was incarcerated.
Uh, mm-hmm.
Nobody at work, people around me didn't know. It was almost like I was playing these two lives.
Mm-hmm.
And so once I started tapping into my heart, feeling my heartbeat, and this just really feeling gratitude for my heart beating and pounding and pulsing, and
Yeah.
then feeling gratitude to all of my cells in my body, that's when I also noticed my throat opening more and me trusting and really letting go of that paranoid feeling of like somebody's out to get me because I was connected to this dark system. And
Mm-hmm.
so the heart is the key, and taking a deep breath in and out
Mm-hmm.
before we respond when we're connecting with our feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that all these feelings that we're experiencing is okay.
Right.
It's like the iceberg, right? The water, the iceberg, the anger is above it. That's what's
Mm-hmm.
sometimes very familiar. But underneath the anger is embarrassment and disappointment and
Mm-hmm.
jealousy and these vulnerable feelings that
Yeah.
folks feel, that we feel, that is happening in our lives. And then we become in contact with it. And maybe it's through a meditation, turning off the TV and just being with ourselves
Yeah.
in the moments. And it's like, whoa, 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 this is bubbling up. And before it bubbles up into that iceberg, taking a deep breath in,
Mm-hmm.
so then it can melt away into the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that the ocean is the heart of the world.
Mm-hmm. Mm. The ocean is the heart of the world. Mm. That's
All
it.
feelings are valid.
That's it. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, last year, it's funny, went through an experience where I lost two beings that were very dear to me. One, my grandmother. And then earlier in that year, I lost my dog. My dog died. My dog was both very special to me. And it's funny, I remember where I got to the space where in the past I would grieve differently. I would at times I would avoid it, right? I would suppress it because I didn't want to feel the hurt. But I got to a space now and doing the work where I wanted to feel that. Right. And I wanted to feel it, but I wanted to feel it in the sense where with gratitude that I'm allowing myself to go through that. I distinctly remember when my dog was he was sick. He was having all these seizures. I had just gotten out of the hospital like a week or so before, and I saw him. He's having seizures, and I told my wife, I said, "Babe, we got to start thinking about allowing Reg to transition. It's time." And it was like I had Reg for almost 13 years, and he was 8 weeks old when we got him. And my kids knew no life without him. He used to sleep in my daughter's bed. He was like a stuffed animal to her. And so he's having these seizures, and I was like, "Babe, we gotta let him go." So we took him to the vet early in the morning, and the vet was like, "It's time. It's time to let him go." So I took him back home, and the kids got home from school. They was like, "Daddy, is he healed? Is he okay?" I was like, "No." I was like, "It's time." I said, he gave us all the love he has. He still loves us. I said, but part of us in loving him is being able to let him go. And the one thing I wanted to be very intentional about in that process of letting him go and transition was to show my kids that it's okay. Right? It was to show them that it's okay to feel these feelings and allow yourself to feel them. That's why we're here. All right. There's so many non-tangible beings, right? Non-physical beings that would love to have this experience of being in this body. And so the beauty of being here as a human is that we are able to have these feelings. And I honored him, and I said, "I'm so grateful for him." I crying. I was crying like a little baby. My tears was all over. I mean, it was ridiculous. And we were in the house. We were all sad and crying. I said, but let's honor that, because one, it's a beauty that we are even here to experience this. And two, just a reflection of the love that we receive from him. And so being able to have these feelings and allowing ourselves to hold them and sit with them. It's beauty. I love how Lisa Nichols says it's all okay. It's all in flow to hold on to and let go. For me, that hits it. That hits the nail on the head. To be able to have it, it's a beauty to even go through it. A beauty to even go through it. I love it.
Mm.
Life is good. Life is good. Well, Miss Okha, I enjoy our conversation. I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing, and I love the work. How can we support? How can we get in contact with you? How can my listeners, reach out to you and figure, how we can be a part of the journey?
Thank you. You know, anyone listening can go to our website, www.theheartcenter.one, O-N-E. Instead of .com, it's .one. This one energy of love, this unlimited source of love that's flowing in us and through us and to us. And if anyone's interested in supporting us as we co-create these systems with intention and love, feel free to email us directly at info@theheartcenter.one.
Mm. Info at theheartcenter.one. I'll put all the information in the video description so you can reach out and support and follow and just keep in contact with the beautiful stuff that Okha's doing out there in California. Question: are there other resources for people who are not located in California but still maybe in their own local community? Is there a way that they can maybe tap into a national or something local? Do you have any references or resources for them?
Honestly, if it's healing, support, or resources,
Yeah.
I always just refer folks to Insight Timer, and I have meditations on that.
Love
or
it.
check out my personal website, healwithokha.com.
Okay.
As far as resources outside of California, a lot of these organizations that are being cultivated in the Bay Area and LA are national organizations.
Okay.
And so if there is somebody directly impacted by incarceration, either through a loved one or directly and is in isolation, then Essie Justice Group has a beautiful program called Healing Through to Advocacy.
Okay.
And I recommend that. That really supported me with just finding a community of beautiful, powerful sisters and siblings to have conversation and to gain tools and to learn more about campaigning as well.
And that was SC Justice?
Yes, ESSIE.
Okay. Perfect. SC Justice. I'll put that information in the video description. Okay, you've been a blessing. It's been such an honor to have you on here, and we're going to keep rooting for you, keep supporting you, and all the blessings to you as you continue the beautiful work that you're doing. We appreciate you.
Peace.
Peace. Ashe, Ashe.